Am I the antagonist for refusing to buy stuff for the house that I do not use repeatedly? Hey everyone, I need an unbiased opinion on this to see if I'm actually wrong on this, laughing my ass off. I, 27-year-old female, live with my uncle, 60-year-old male, and cousin, 25-year-old female, and we keep getting into the same argument like clockwork every other month or so. For context, my cousin and I are in a tough spot financially and are able to live and save money while staying with our uncle. I had previously lived in a big city while attending college, supporting myself alone for about 9 years by paying for my own rent and living with roommates. I'm quite familiar with shared spaces, having my own belongings and not touching my roommates' things. On the other hand, my cousin has lived on her own but with an ex-partner or her family, so she is used to communal living and sharing everything. I moved here 2 years ago and everything was fine. Another thing to note is that I am plus-sized while my cousin is very thin. So, there have been little comments here and there that I eat everything in sight. However, I'm used to living by the rule of don't touch my things because I mostly lived with strangers. Now, I'm accused of eating all the butter, drinking all the milk, eating all the eggs, and using the detergent that I'm actually purchasing 80% of the time. After our last argument, I genuinely lost it. I'm usually passive because I don't care enough to nitpick someone, but this time I'm really upset. I lost my job last month and only had about $300 to cover my bills and groceries to last me for about 3.5 weeks until my new job started. I spent $120 and carefully planned my meals to make the most of every item and not waste any money that I couldn't afford to waste. Today is the 3rd day of my new job and I've completely run out of food. When my cousin comes home, I immediately notice that she's in a mood. Mind you, she's only gone grocery shopping once this whole month and has only bought 3 things. Meanwhile, I've been meal prepping and making meals to sustain myself. She earns roughly $600 per week, but claims to have nothing to buy food, yet she buys the most expensive items at the store. Or when I give her money to get stuff, she only buys what she eats and says it's smarter that way. She starts complaining about how there is no food and we don't have groceries. At that point, I interrupt her to clarify that I don't have groceries. I'm meal prepping to stay within my budget. I'm on a grocery strike because everything I buy for myself keeps getting eaten by her. I also budget very well, buying almost everything from store brands and the cheapest options available. I know how to stretch $40 to feed myself for 3 weeks with meals. I've had to survive on just rice and beans in order to pay rent before. I understand how to struggle because I've lost both of my parents. I don't have a financial safety net. If I don't have money, I'm screwed. On the other hand, my cousin has both of her parents who constantly offer to help her. I'm literally at my wit's end. I feel like I'm being made to believe that I'm crazy for wanting my own food and household items. It sounds like you are being unfairly treated, and your cousin is not respecting your boundaries. You are responsible for purchasing your own food and household items, and it's not right for her to keep eating or using them without replacing them or asking for permission. Given your financial situation, it's understandable that you want to budget and make your resources last. It's important to communicate your frustrations and set clear boundaries with your cousin. Am I the antagonist for refusing to share my food? I live with 4 roommates and we all go to college together. I pay for all of my food by myself and I do not eat any of my other roommates' food. Multiple times now I've caught 2 of them in particular taking and eating my food without asking. I've asked them to stop, and I'm usually met with sorry. It was in the fridge, so why shouldn't we be allowed to have it? Or something along those lines. To be clear, I always label my initials on my food in the fridge, yet they're constantly still eating my food. No, it is not a financial issue. They've bought their own food yet continue to eat mine and not apologize. I had enough, so I put 2 mini fridges in my room. One from my parents' house and one I just purchased. I've started compacting my food down and fitting it between the 2 fridges and lock my door when I'm not around. My roommates, even the ones not eating my food, are very upset at me. They say it isn't fair for me to gatekeep my food from everyone else. I explained that I have sensory sensitivity, which they already know, and I like to have my food for myself. They said I was being extremely selfish, and one of them even said if you're going to live with other people, you are expected to share your food with them. I think this is absolutely ridiculous, but now I've been outcast from the rest of the roommates. They're all very angry with me and even refuse to talk to me now. I've clearly upset them, but I feel very strongly about this. I genuinely don't know what to do about this. So am I the asshole? Your roommates are clearly in the wrong here. You have clearly labeled your food, and they continue to disregard your boundaries. It is completely fair for you to want to keep your food for yourself, especially if you have sensory sensitivity. Your solution of getting mini fridges and locking them in your room is a reasonable response to their repeated actions. It is not gatekeeping if you are protecting your own belongings and personal space. Their argument that living together means you have to share your food is flawed. You are not obligated to share your personal possessions, especially if they have shown no respect for your property. It's unfortunate that your other roommates are also upset with you, but it seems like they are siding with the ones who are eating your food without permission. It might be worth having a calm and honest conversation with them to explain your side and see if you can find a resolution. However, if they continue to be unreasonable, you might want to consider finding new living arrangements with more considerate roommates. Am I the antagonist for telling my mom she lied to my stepsister and doesn't get to throw me under the bus for something I wasn't a part of? It was just my mom and me, 17, for the first 11 years of my life. Then she met Kane and they got married. Kane has a daughter Mia who is 8 now. She was 2 when my mom and Kane got married. So I wasn't super into the idea of mom and Kane. I liked it being just the 2 of us. Things were good and I didn't like Kane all that much. I guess he's fine. But he's very cocky and believes he is way more important than he is. He has talked for years about how miserable I was not having a man in the house, and how I was a miserable, struggling kid because I had a single mom and no dad. None of this is true, but he likes to believe it is. But anyway, he's always had this cocky attitude that I didn't vibe with, and I was happy with it being just mom and me. Then one day we had mine and mom's family and Kane's family over. My mom got really into filming every moment after meeting Kane, and she was recording us all that day. Then she and Kate asked me how I would feel if they got married in front of everyone and if I wanted that. I told them I didn't, and I liked it being just me and mom. Mom recorded the whole thing. They even asked if I wasn't excited to be Mia's big sister, and I said no. Again, I was 11. And again, mom recorded the whole thing. It was awkward. My grandparents told mom 2 or 3 times to turn off her camera, and mom just kept recording as I showed my disinterested in the idea of them getting married. Mom and Kane got married anyway, and life moved on. It's okay. It's not terrible. I would not say life is better because of it, though. Still not that into Kane either. I think someone really needs to take him down several notches with the cockiness. Apparently, Mom and Kane told me for years that I had really wanted us to be a family, and I had always wanted to be her sister. They said I had given my blessing for the wedding, and my #1 reason was I wanted her. I think you get where this is going. Mom got the recording of the day they asked me for my blessing onto a USB with other home movies she shot. Mia was looking through Mom's many home movies and saw that one, and she was so upset. She asked me if I had wanted her as a sister back then, and it came out of nowhere, so I asked what she was talking about. It upset her more, and Mom was home and she went to her then. Mom then told her that I had lied about that stuff over the years and she was so sorry she heard all that and stuff. Then she told her that they had wanted to protect her from me and all kinds of other stuff and to shield her from the truth. I waited until Mia wasn't around and I confronted Mom and told her she does not get to call me a liar when I have never lied. I told her she was the liar and she threw me under the bus for something I had no part in. Mom yelled at me and said none of this would be happening if I'd been happier and embraced our family back then. She told me she was doing her best with Mia, who didn't need to have her heart shattered by me. Am I the asshole? It seems like your mom and Kane manipulated the situation to make you look bad and protect Mia from the truth. You were honest about not wanting them to get married and be a family, which is understandable considering your close bond with your mom before their relationship. Your mom's behavior of constantly recording and not respecting your boundaries is problematic. It is unfair for her to blame you for their choices and project her own insecurities onto you. You have the right to your feelings and should not be made to feel guilty for them. Am I the antagonist for telling my mother to stop randomly showing up at my house unannounced? Some background. As a child, my mother had a habit of entering my bedroom without warning and demanding that I do chores. This was her usual way of asking me to do things, not because she had already asked and I hadn't done it. There was no knocking, no warning, just a sudden forceful entry. As I grew older, her approach changed. The door would open slowly, and she would gently sit on my bed and tell me, if you were a good person, you would do X, Y, or Z. As time went on, this became more and more annoying. She never simply asked me to do something. She applied the same tactics to my younger brother, who also grew increasingly frustrated. We didn't mind doing chores, of course. We understood the importance of doing them. We just wished she would ask us in a normal manner, without treating us as if we had done something wrong. When I turned 25, I finally had the opportunity to leave home and lived with a friend for about 10 years. It was a relief to have some privacy and not have to endure my mother's method of asking me to do chores. Then I moved into my own place. Around 6 months later, I came home from work to find that my kitchen had been cleaned and rearranged. Completely rearranged. My microwave and toaster were in different places. My coffee cup rack had been moved, and even my fridge had been repositioned to face a different direction. There were other changes as well, and I found a note from my mother praising herself for tidying up while I was at work. My fridge is taller than me, and she had moved it. It took me about an hour to put everything back where I wanted them. A week later, it happened again, accompanied by a note. She had also rearranged the books in my bookcase. I spent the evening putting everything back in order. On a day when I had planned to have a long weekend with my girlfriend, I was waiting for her to arrive when I heard the front door open. I had not informed anyone of my plans as I wanted to keep the relationship secret from my mother for now. I rushed downstairs in just a towel, thinking it might be burglars, only to find my dad sent by my mother to mow the lawn while I was out. Again, no previous notice. I had to send him away. Can you guess what happened the next day while my girlfriend and I were enjoying some private time together? The ensuing argument with my mother ended with her storming out of the house, and later I received a text message filled with ramblings about how she's never tried to control my life. It has been a month now and I have had no communication with either of my parents. Am I the asshole? Your mother has continuously invaded your privacy and disrespected your boundaries. It is not okay for her to barge into your bedroom without warning or manipulate you into doing chores with guilt-tripping tactics. Additionally, rearranging your kitchen and bookcase without your permission is a clear violation of your personal space. You have every right to be frustrated and upset with her behavior. It is understandable that you would want some distance from your parents after such repeated intrusions and lack of respect for your boundaries. Take this time to establish your independence and set clear boundaries with your mother. Communicate your feelings to her calmly and assertively, explaining that her actions have been overstepping and hurtful. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister to move out? I, 28-year-old female, told my sister, 24-year-old female, back in July that she could temporarily move in with me for less than 6 months. At that time, she had a full-time job, but she abruptly quit after just a month and a half. Now she spends the entire day drinking and often gets drunk around me and my children. As a sober recovering alcoholic, this situation is difficult for me. Sometimes she doesn't come home or comes and goes at odd hours. She has even brought strangers home for sex. While I told her that it was her home and I didn't mind, I asked her not to do it when my 2 young children, both under 5, are present. Additionally, she claims to be job hunting, but I see no effort on her part to find employment. I have politely and calmly expressed my increasing dissatisfaction with our arrangement. I wanted to avoid damaging our relationship, especially since my sister has a tendency to explode. I mentioned the possibility of her moving out, but she said it would be challenging since she doesn't have a job. I offered to help her co-sign a lease once she found employment and demonstrated the ability to pay the rent. I also suggested that she ask our mother for help with the security deposit, and our mother agreed to assist. We agreed that January or February would be a suitable time for her to move out. However, everything changed yesterday. As I needed to bring my desk upstairs from the basement due to my hybrid work schedule, I was shocked by the state of the basement. I rarely go there or inspect it closely, as my sister and I live in very different conditions. When I cleaned off the desk, with her permission, I was disgusted to find old food, drinks, cat litter, and other unidentified dirt all over it. I couldn't understand how it had become so filthy in just 3 months. I cleaned it and noticed that the entire basement was in a similar state. After taking some time to calm down, I texted my sister to inform her that, for the sake of our relationship and my mental well-being, I had decided it was best for her to move out as soon as possible. I assured her that I would still help her secure an apartment, waive any further rent, which was originally only $300, and even assist with a security deposit or talk to our parents about financial support. But I made it clear that December would be her final month staying with me. Lately, she has been staying with a friend as well, so I assumed she could ask them for a room or temporarily move in, as they already have 2 other roommates. In summary, between myself, our parents, and her friends, my sister would not end up homeless. She is furious and accuses me of not caring about her and betraying her well-being. Though I am trying to remain calm and acknowledge my own unhappiness at home, her and my mom's reactions are starting to make me feel guilty. Am I the asshole? You invited your sister to stay with you under the understanding that it would be a short-term arrangement. However, she quit her job abruptly and has since been engaging in unhealthy behavior like excessive drinking, bringing strangers home, and neglecting to look for employment. As a recovering alcoholic, it is perfectly reasonable for you to be uncomfortable with her behavior and concerned for your own well-being. You have tried to address the issues with her calmly and kindly, offering to help her secure an apartment and even co-sign a lease. It is not your responsibility to enable her destructive behavior or allow her to take advantage of your generosity. Your request for her to move out in December is a fair boundary to set for the sake of your mental health and the well-being of your children. While it is understandable that your sister may be upset, it is also important to prioritize your own well-being and that of your family. You have made efforts to support her, but ultimately she needs to take responsibility for her own actions and make positive changes in her life. It's essential to remember that enabling her unhealthy behavior will not help her in the long run, and you should not feel guilty for setting boundaries and taking care of yourself. Am I the antagonist if I don't buy my friend and her child a Christmas gift? Some background. I've been struggling to find work after being laid off. I am currently in school working on a certification to improve my job prospects. However, all of the money I receive goes towards paying bills, rent, and groceries. This is a well-known fact among my friends. Due to my financial situation, I have been open with my friends about crocheting gifts for them during the holidays. I already have a lot of yarn. I do not expect anything in return from anyone because times are tough for most of us right now. Most of my friends are fine with this, especially because crocheting has been my side hustle for years, and they know how much time and effort I put into these projects. However, one friend, let's call her Anne, expressed some resistance when it came to me making gifts for her and her child, 1-year-old. I asked Anne if her child needed any warm clothes, blankets, or plush toys, and she told me to check the registry she still has open from his birthday. I explained that although I would love to buy off the registry for Christmas, it is not something I can afford to do. Instead, I planned on making gifts this year. She argued that if I'm not buying gifts for anyone else, I should easily be able to buy gifts for her son and herself. I tried to reiterate that I cannot afford to buy gifts, but she dismissed me, claiming that I was being difficult. This really frustrated me, not because she didn't want me to make gifts for them. I have had other parents express concerns about allergies or personal preferences, which I completely understand and respect, but because she seemed to feel entitled to being the only person in my life to receive a store-bought gift. As a result, I have decided not to get her or her son anything out of principle. I understand it may sound petty, but if I were to have enough money for a gift, it would go to my significant other or my dad, both of whom have supported me through this tough time. I spoke to a mutual friend about this, and she believes I would be in the wrong if I give gifts to everyone else but not to Anne and her son. She suggested that I try to get something under $10 for each of them. However, I do not believe I should be obligated to spend money on someone who is acting entitled and rude. Am I the asshole? You have been transparent with your friends about your financial situation and your plan to make crocheted gifts for the holidays. You reached out to Anne to see if her child needed anything, but when you explained your financial limitations and your plan to make gifts, she became entitled and rude. It is completely understandable that you do not feel obligated to spend money on someone who is behaving this way. It is also perfectly fine to prioritize spending any extra money you may have on your significant other and father, who have supported you through your difficult times. Your mutual friend's suggestion of getting something under $10 for Anne and her son is a reasonable compromise, but it is not necessary for you to do so if you do not feel comfortable, or if it goes against your principles. The fact that Anne's husband is supportive of your handmade gift for their child and has plans to address the situation with Anne further emphasizes that you are not in the wrong here. In conclusion, you are not obligated to buy gifts for Anne and her son, and their entitled and rude behavior doesn't warrant it. Stick to your plan of making gifts for those you feel comfortable gifting to, and prioritize your own financial well-being. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.